When you're creating an anthro or furry character, you've probably noticed that there's a whole freaking lot of different body shapes and styles. So let's start it off with the major differentiator. Leggies. Do a big ol' heckin' talk about leggy. Time to stretch me leggy out real far. Actually, wait a second, wait. Are those his arms? Or his legs? Oh, never mind. Hey friend, it's Shivago again, and welcome to another How to Draw Furries video. How's your practicing been going? Good, I hope? Let's broaden your horizons a little bit. We've been focusing on basic shapes and heads in the last few videos, so let's talk about furry body types for a minute, huh? The vessels with which our characters navigate the world. There's no such thing as a wrong furry body type. There are inaccurate ones out there for sure, but the great thing about drawing furries is that you can make them any way you want depending on what you want for your character. So be warned on this topic, the possibilities for furries are absolutely endless. There's no way I'm going to be able to cover all the exact hybrids like your protogen, shark, fursona. Sorry. But what I can do is offer you the building blocks to try to help you figure out how to build that freak of nature all on your own using the power of imagination. We will talk more about unique species later in this series, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to start with some common examples like canines and felines. It's going to be up to you to apply this information in a way that fits your needs and to educate yourself on the various species you'd like to draw, but I hope this video helps you with that. So let's start with the most basic of categories, anthro or feral. Most furry characters fall into two distinct body types, anthropomorphic, also known as anthro, or feral. The first part of the word anthropomorphic comes from the Greek word anthropos, which means man or human. Many people shorten this term to just anthro for short. It means that your character has very obvious human-like characteristics, such as human-esque arms, expressions, or bipedal standing, just to name a few. Think of your typical werewolf. They stand up like people, walk like people, and they're overall very humanoid. They basically think they're people. Feral, as you probably guessed, means that your character looks as it would if they existed in real life or in the wild. Some feral characters may talk or have human-like facial expressions, which still technically counts as anthropomorphism by definition, but most people stick with just the visuals when labeling a character anthro or feral in furry artwork. We are going to focus primarily on anthro-style characters on this channel because there's lots of existing resources on how to draw real-life animals already. Oops, sorry. Ferals don't really require much special explanation, just Google photo references of your favorite species and start studying. They're simple because you can see these things in real life. Anthros require a bit more imagination because you need to mentally Frankenstein your creations together. So let's take a look at some of the common anthro building blocks. A lot of people assume that furry body styles are defined by their legs and usually fall into one of two categories, plantigrade or digigrade. The body styles can also affect the arms and torso as well, but they're not often included when we're just describing what body style it is. Another thing that often isn't included is that there's another leg style that many people forget, and that's called unguligrade. All three of these terms describe the legs, which can still be more human or more animal, just depends on how you draw them. Now, those three leg styles are definitely not the only leg styles in the animal kingdom, but they're the most commonly used and referenced by furry laymen, aka the general populace. So those are the three we're going to stick with in this video. You could give your flamingo fursona anatomically correct legs if you wanted to, but nobody outside bird enthusiasts would know what you were talking about. And anytime you went to get a commission, the artist would look at you like, what? And then leg style 1, plantigrade. Plantigrade is the term for legs that are built in a way that the foot is planted on the ground. Human legs. Digitigrade is the most commonly referenced style of animal leg, often found in creatures like canines and felines. The word comes from the toes, or digits, that are on the ground. with the heel naturally lifted up and behind. Unguligrade is like a more extreme version of digitigrade, since for this type it is only the tippy tips of the digits that are touching the ground. These are usually seen in hoofed creatures where the hoof is the tip of their toes. No matter how different they all look, they've all got the same basic parts, just in different proportions. They've all got hips, knees, midfoot, ankles, and tippy toes. They all have the same parts as your legs, they're just built a little bit differently. So which kind is best? That's ultimately up to you and what you want for your character. This area of art is really subjective, so there aren't any steadfast art laws for this kind of stuff, but structuring your character using the anatomical building blocks that exist in nature makes your characters that much more believable. Plantigrade is pretty much always safe. If you're gonna go for a human-style leg, you're good to go. Falling back on human form is generally considered accurate in most cases, since any human-styled body part can be considered part of the definition of anthropomorphic. But wait, there's more! Humans aren't the only creatures that have plantigrade legs. Bears, red pandas, raccoons, rodents, rabbits, kangaroos, they're all plantigrade creatures, they just all have their own unique proportions. Make sure you get photo references and reference your original inspiration, whether that's a real-life animal or an animal based in mythology. Look to natural anatomy to discover the right ones. You can see here that all of these parts are the same. Some of the proportions are a little bit different, like for the kangaroo, rabbit, and mouse, but these are all plantigrade creatures. Foot, planted, ground. Digitigrade or unguligrade might seem like the go-to style of animal legs, but as you just learned, that's not always accurate. You might like the look of these legs more, and they might seem more furry, but there's lots of plantigrade animals out there. Digitigrade and unguligrade are made of the same basic shapes we just covered, just with slightly different proportions. I keep telling you to reference photos of real-life creatures, and I'm going to tell you again because your particular species, even subspecies, might have its own unique proportions. For example, all dogs are digitigrades. A German Shepherd and a Chihuahua are both dogs, but they each still have different anatomy. Or an antelope and a horse might both be unguligrades, but they're still built differently. You need to really get in there to discover what it is that makes your species unique so that you can capture it. If you can stomach it, consider looking up anatomical diagrams of the skeletal structures of your creatures and use these as your guides. If you can't stomach it, I understand, but the deeper you can get, the better your foundation will be. Here's a quick exercise that you can use to start experimenting with various body styles. Okay, so you know that one super famous evolution chart? You know the one of the monkey who turns into another monkey, who turns into another monkey, and then eventually becomes a human? Give this a shot. Put your plantigrade furry where the human part is. Next, put your digitigrade or unguligrade furry on the other end. Make these two characters be the same species, just with different bodies. Now, try to imagine what the evolution between these two characters would look like. What needs to change from one character to get to the other? What would the middle version look like? Start with one middle design and add more as you feel comfortable. If you want to make this exercise a little bit more advanced, you can even change the species as well and use that as a method to build hybrid characters. Try this exercise out over and over again, and the more you do it, the better you'll get. Okay guys, that's all for today. If you have any questions about what I covered in today's video, leave a comment below. Maybe I'll cover it in my next episode. Remember to hydrate, eat right, and get 8 hours of sleep a night. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!